are again, Daggy and the Barneys. Say Barnster. Close enough. Barnyard,
Close
how are you,
enough.
mate? He's risen off his deathbed. I've been half crook, sick kids, flat out working
Yeah,
between.
little
week
pale
it's
and
been,
sweaty,
eh?
as you can probably see.
The
But
ghostly grey, there he is
I'm
on
all right,
screen.
mate.
For everyone watching on YouTube. Yeah. How you travelling, you right?
Yeah, I'll get there. A pretty chronic headache, and I've done nothing but sleep for the last sort of 2 days when I can. But yeah, I'll be right back to work tomorrow and soldier on. They're fucking desperate for drivers in there, so I'll go in and do some of that.
Do you want to give a plug if anyone wants a job?
No, I wouldn't recommend it.
I've a
that way.
funny story actually. I've had some clients come in that used to work there, and
A couple of years
they
ago, I
were
would have.
not complimentary in the slightest.
Yeah, things have changed in there recently. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. But
anyway, we'll try and avoid you getting fired, so we'll move on.
yeah,
But
please.
apologies in advance that it may not be the most riveting show we've ever done. But welcome aboard if it's your first time. Try again next week. Of course, you can buy some of our merch that Barnes wearing. You can subscribe on YouTube. Leave some feedback as always. We've got Insta, Threads, and Facebook. Still on X, so you can find us there. But we'll get straight to the news, I guess. Where do we start? Up and down here. Let's start with Sheensy. Hey, Barn.
Right, why not? Yeah, what can you say? Was he pushed, you reckon?
Apparently, his management contacted the club and said he'd had enough.
Yeah, okay.
Enough of probably being pushed.
Seems more to me that there might have been somebody in the background telling him it was probably a good idea that they part ways. But
it's amazing how often where there's smoke, there's an inferno at the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. Just another situation to add to the entirety of this year for the Tigers. I guess at least it happens now. The club can't get really any lower than what they've done in the last sort of 2 years. So
they found a way this year.
Hopefully, if they clear some shit out here, and Benji, I guess, gets a brand new start going into the next year. So
I'm just tired of talking about it, but it happened today. The only thing, have you ever seen a more schizophrenic sporting association than the West Tigers, though? Like, 1 year, it's a 5-year gun-ho, we're all in, this is where we're going. They didn't even last the end of the season on a 5-year plan. Surely, wouldn't you at least say, right, this is where we're going, we're sticking to our guns, the kids are coming through. Like, it's just, my biggest concern is you're now back to square one again, as we are every 18 months, because they've actually built not a bad squad. With a bit of luck, they probably should have won more games. But
yes,
they're now got 2.5, 3 new halves coming next year, a new coach, some key players leaving, some key players going to be injured a key player going to be injured for most of the year. You're starting from scratch again. So you're starting out next year to be where we were 12 months ago, and I still say, well, hopefully in 2 years' time, they'll have a decent side. In that 2 years, Clemmer's old. All of a sudden, they want to move Clemmer on because he'll be 33, and they want to move someone else on because he's 34, and Bateman will have had enough.
Will come for somebody else.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What do you say?
No, I feel for you, mate. You've described it pretty well there. The schizophrenic situation, the club. They seem to go from one problem to the next, and it's probably this would be good 10 to 15 years now. It's been happening every year and a half, 2 years. So there's definitely some big issues at the top of that place.
And that's it. It's simple as that. A decade now, there's one constant, and that's the top of the place. And until either West's completely buy them out and just fuck them all off, which apparently will never happen. They wish they'd done it 10 years ago because at least they'd have been one direction. Or until they finally come to their senses and ask me to run the joint. Hashtag Daggy time. Hashtag save us Daggy. We're going to be coming round and round in circles again. But I am available. All right, cool. We get to the next news, which another crack at this one is Tavita Pengai Jr. has retired to pursue a boxing career, Barn. How excited are you for his boxing career, Barn?
He's definitely got some skill in the ring. I've seen him previously get in there. Obviously, he hasn't fought anyone of note at the moment, but he seems to probably have a higher level of skill than most of the footballers that jump in the ring. So um, it's disappointing if that's the last game of footy that we see from him, because he did have a lot of skill. Not that he continually showed it, but he did have, he had all the skill sets to tear a game apart, which he did a couple of times during his career. But really would have liked to have seen him knuckle down and put out a full season. Whether he goes away for 12 months and then comes back and finds another club is another story altogether. That's probably the way I'd be thinking that might end up happening. He has 12
Don't
months
worry about
off and then
might.
comes back.
Are the under over is round 16 at the Roosters next year? Dead set, round 12 through 6, somewhere between 12 and 16. He'll either sign for the Roosters or the Storm, and off they go for half the price, and there they go.
Probably not wrong there, but I'll follow him pretty closely in the boxing ring. As you know, and most of the listeners know, I'm a pretty big fan of the boxing. And I do keep an eye on a lot of the Australian stuff as well as the overseas things, the overseas bouts. So yeah, I think he'll probably make a pretty good name for himself
And straight
in the
heavyweight?
boxing circles. Yeah, it'd be a straight heavyweight. He'd go. He's got Sonny Bill in his corner apparently, so I dare say he'd probably have some similar sort of record to Sonny Bill if he sticks to it and actually trains the way he needs to be a boxer. I think he'd go all right.
I can't imagine you walk away from $750,000 a year without a plan, without an offer somewhere on the table.
No, you wouldn't
It'd
think
be
so.
a 3-fight deal for 500 or something.
Yeah, 3 or 4 fights, I'd imagine, would be already in the pipeline. But
yeah,
maybe 100 grand to start, and then see where he goes from there. But his first fight or two is probably not going to make him a lot of money.
Yeah. I imagine, but that said, I'm sure he'll make more than the average first fight. A lot more. But as I said, I'd be shocked if he's not playing NRL by next year, probably at a significant club on a significantly reduced wage.
Yes. At least half, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, he'll come in and on the bench for someone and about to make the top 6, and they'll offer him 150 or 2, and off we go. But anyway, if I can see it happening, we'll see if Leon steps in.
No, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I mean, what is the state of Australian heavyweight boxing? It's not really the strong point, is it?
No, definitely not. No, when you saw how far Gallen got through the ranks realistically, and he wasn't the greatest boxer in the world. Had a ton of heart, but decent skill set. But there's only really the top 1 or 2 guys in the Australian heavyweight ranks that would be make a name for themselves out there. So saw the missus head pop in the door there.
We'll move on. I'll just let that one go through the keeper. Payne Haas, well, let's get through the signing news. Actually, the mail is Payne Haas will re-sign at Brisbane for 1.2. Cool. The Tino and Fafita have both re-signed at the Titans, one for 3 years, Tino for a decade, apparently, on similar to $1 million, which is very interesting. I still struggle to get my head around the fact that $1 million, any props worth $1 million
apparently for Tino.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if they're the two commanding that, that's probably fair enough. But it's a big investment in a position who's, and they are in the conversation for the 2 best props in the game. And
I think it sounds a little bit bigger now as well because of the increase in the salary cap.
That's right.
Like relatively, this money's probably around the 850 to 900 mark now. You know what I mean? Which guys are sort of on at the moment. I saw someone doing some calculations the other day, and Payne's money at the moment is about 8.5% of the salary cap, and it's similar numbers when you expand it out to what the increase in the salary cap comes to.
And that makes a lot of sense. And that's exactly what we said was going to happen anyway.
No, that's right.
And what they wanted to happen. All fair enough signings. Good for the Titans.
Very good for the Titans. Yeah, and fantastic for the Broncos.
And CSCOR is officially coming back. He's been released. Has he officially signed with the Bulldogs? Is that a done deal?
Not that I know of.
But all I know is he's coming back. So
he's all but signed.
I believe that's the most likely destination, but I would not be disappointed if he lobbed at a certain nutbag club. Anyway, my man's back, so that's nice. It's always nice to have
Be
it.
interesting to see what Nicky comes back in.
Yeah. I must confess I don't follow UK at all, so couldn't
No,
tell you.
no bad either.
He's very good before he went though. Injury news: Marshall King's season's over. Tanner Boyd's season's over. Aaron Clark's season's over. Mitch Moses' season's over with a broken cheekbone, which apparently he played with for about half hour before they realised what was going on.
Yeah, before he copped another knock on it.
Yeah, so kudos to him for trying that. Lumelu, Bromwich, Hammer all out this week with HIAs. Foreign's out this week. Hastings looked in trouble, but it's been named this week. They're going to monitor the syndesmosis.
Yeah, they reckon the scar tissue might have saved him. Apparently,
Yeah,
from
right.
what I've heard, it's because it wasn't as it didn't bend as much because of the scar tissue that was there. So
Yeah, right. Okay.
from
Well,
his last one with Paddy last year.
It was very sad. I hoped his season didn't end the same manner twice in a row because he's been absolutely brilliant for them, and it just really comes across as someone who just needed a bit of love the other
Just
way.
absolute goer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Judiciary news: Preston, a couple of weeks for that, and Ray Stone 2 weeks for. Well, he took 2 weeks. It would have been a fine, but he's injured. He's out for the season actually as well. So he accepted the 2 weeks rather than paying the fine for that shot on the falling.
Oh yeah, I suppose if your season's over, it doesn't
Yeah,
really matter, does it?
whatever. It's not the same as the
A
Madison.
bit of a
thing.
rough one too, because it was one of those ones where the guy's gone from being, a 5 foot target to a 2.5 foot target in a split second, and cop him in the head, which, yeah,
exactly. But all means not a lot right now, does it? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really. The Warriors, I think they named the stadium over there after Daniel Anderson for this weekend. I'm not sure if it's an ongoing thing.
It is a Daniel Anderson round, I believe. And there were some additional internationals named announced this week. In the first week, Australia versus Samoa at Townsville. This is in October, mid-October. And then Australian women versus New Zealand women. PNG versus Cook Islands. Samoa versus Fiji in the women. Week 2, Samoa and New Zealand. The women, New Zealand and Tonga. Fiji and Cook Islands, PNG and the Cook Islands females. In the week 3, we get the Anzac Test and the corresponding women's Anzac Test, as well as PNG and Fiji, as Barney nearly kills himself there on a high chair. And the final takes place at Hamilton in New Zealand, Melbourne Cup week. I like a little bit of footy into the back end of the season. I think it doesn't hurt. I know the players aren't particularly fans, but no World Cup. There'll be a nice enough break afterwards, I would suggest. And ultimately, it was all agreed with as part of the CBA, I'm told. So whatever. You also need to unmute yourself there, David.
Yes, that helps. It's always interesting to see how the international teams stack up at the end of the year. Do like a bit of international football being played at the back end of the year, and it sort of breaks things up as well. You get, obviously we pretty desperate for footy coming around that time anyway. So.
You know what else happens around that time is you join us on Show Us Your Tips and sit in and we drink beer and find all the winners of the Melbourne Cup
Make
card.
up stories about the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, in which I tipped the first 4 last year. Fun fact. But anyway, let's move on. I think we've plugged everything. We've rabbited it on. Let's review some footy. Footy. Oh, was something else you want to talk about?
No, I was going to mention some off-field stuff, but no,
do it. I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, it's the Haas family situation again.
Oh, right.
The younger brother now facing some pretty serious charges with drug importation. So.
Yeah, what was that? $1 million of ice or something?
Yeah, and more meth, I think it was. But it's crazy. He's obviously come from a pretty troubled family, the young fella, and
it is amazing.
He's done well, I think, to keep his head screwed on as well as he has.
It is amazing to think that he's probably something would have to go wrong for me not to name him as the best prop I've ever seen in 10 years. Like he'd have to do an Achilles and never be able to walk again or something. Assuming he doesn't go anywhere and he's just re-signed for Brisbane, he will be the best prop I've ever seen play, if he's not already. But obviously longevity is a big thing in that. And to come from that background is a more credit to him. And as you said, cop things like getting booed at Suncorp last year and being questioned and this and that. To just be the best and the biggest and the strongest and the toughest and the fastest minute in, minute out every week is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's obviously got a very very strong mindset and desire and will to do what he does. So.
Anything else?
No, it's just a bit disappointing, obviously, especially for his family and everything else. But it's just a link that they love to use in the news to make it, get a few more clicks and whatever. Just link their surnames.
Of course, but that's what it is
Media
in clickbait land. All right, back to Friday night, 24-12. Panthers beat the Seagulls in a very, very entertaining game of rugby league that was unfortunately perhaps the tide turned on the back of a couple of decisions and a couple of stupid playing decisions. But what did the stats say first of all?
Yeah, we had two tries to 4, 2 out of 2 conversions played, 3 out of 4 for Penrith, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts, and a missed field goal attempt for Penrith. 78% completion, played 84%, which led to 545 plus running meters for Penrith, 5 line breaks to 3, 41 tackle busts for Manly, 39 for Penrith, 8 offloads to 7, a forced dropout from both teams, 345 tackles played, 321. 12 errors from Manly, 10 from Penrith, 6 penalties conceded to 4, 3 ruck infringements to 4. Daly Cherry Evans with 96 Supercoach points, Garrick with 80, and then another Manly player before you got down to Brian To'o on 77.
I really enjoyed this game, and I thought whether it was DCE, whether it was Seabold, whether it was Flanagan, they came here with a game plan to try and beat Penrith. They knew they couldn't, if they just sat here and wrestled and arm wrestled and tried to, withstand the deep water, it wasn't going to happen. So they went out. They had early movement. They chanced their arm. DC was very, very clever in his kicking game for the first half, where he kicked basically into the ground and made Taruva and Tua have to wait and wait and wait, which gave the defensive line time to close the broken field and really shut their meters down. And I thought it was fantastic to watch. And I thought Manly executed it very, very well, bar maybe 158. And unfortunately, points, on the back of what was a knock-on ultimately, and admittedly for play the ball in between, and then some dumb decisions in the back end cost them. But I was impressed by Manly in a losing effort. It was one of the better performances of the weekend, I thought. But what do you make of it, Mike?
Yeah, much the same, mate. Very desperate effort from Manly. Obviously, they went out of their way to do everything they could to win this game. Meant a lot for their season. I really like the way they did upset Penrith's rhythm, as you said, kicking in, making them track back a long way to get, and taking meters off their back men. Consistent early shifts out wide, which sort of caught them. They caught Penrith a couple of times early, definitely on the back foot, and turned them around and inside out. And it was only from some good scramble that probably saved a couple of tries from Penrith as well, from Manly as well in that first half. Even Penrith's first try came from the back foot. It was just Crichton pinching the ball as he does. He's a good little thief with the football. That bloke, what's 4 or 5 intercepts I think he's taken this year. So it's probably one of the better ones. Obviously, the big turning point was the kicking duel that Garrick decided he wanted to try. I'm pretty sure he was going for the 20-40, to be honest.
Well,
and he's just
I saw that said, and given the fact Saab was on his back foot, it makes me think maybe that's correct, because like Saab had now, you'd think if the plan was to kick early, Saab would be off and gone because he's their best hope of something happening. And
I think if
it was almost like he went, "Oh fuck, that's my job."
Yeah, and I don't think he got it across there far enough. Because really, if you're going to try and do that, I think you would have been better off to kick straight back down the field, because obviously you're getting more meters if the whole idea is to try and play a game of foursomes back, which they haven't done for a long time. They used to love back in the day, but
do kids still play that?
I'm pretty sure he just dragged it back in. Who's that? The
foursomes
kids
back.
Yeah.
Only if it's on the Switch, I suppose. Yeah, what a game it was. Right in, tell us.
They used to the kicking duels used to be on for all money back in the 80s, 90s. They used to love just fullbacks kicking it back and forward between each other. The big problem with the kick was, as you said, Saab was on the back foot, and by the time they got down there, it was only him and Garrick that got there, and
it's broken
there
field.
was 2 and 3 other blokes and had broken defensive line. Penrith did well to shift it out and then back in, and Taruva just carved through 3 or 4 blokes, left them standing there, made them look silly. But if that chase is better, it's probably a different result.
And the other key moment was making a break on the first and Schuster deciding just to kick it away.
Yeah, that was
Off
interesting.
some
That was
very
an intercept
sharp,
too, wasn't it? And,
yeah. And unfortunately,
and then
threw it away, and that led almost directly to points.
Rather than taking the tackle and setting up to go again, he's gone all in on the first play and stuffed that up for him. Yeah, did not help at all. Penrith really closed out the game in the second half. They went back to their high completions and aggression in the middle of the field, and they did well once they got back in front. But it was a really long fight to get to where they did.
Yeah, it was sort of normal business resumed the second half. There wasn't a lot of intent otherwise, and I think once the wrestle was over, Penrith just went through the gears, and that was it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought Jakey Trbojevic and Bullymore were decent. Croker and Hamole were good. Throw Saab in there as well. He was good. Garrick was very strong. Sipley had his best game of first grade in a long time, I thought. He was fantastic in this game, and so was DCE. He was great. Back 5 for Penrith were all good. They generally are, but Crichton, To'o, and Taruva were the standouts of the back 5. Fish and Sorensen were very good. Cleary's kicking game really came to the fore in the second half, and I thought he got them out of a bit of trouble there, and his kicking was fantastic. But for mine, Yo was the man of the match. I thought Yo was in everything again. Some really nice short ball playing, as well as all the work that he does in the middle of the field. So.
I don't have an argument with that. I think DCE is worth a 2.
I gave him 2, yeah.
And
then I probably gave Taruva the 1.
Exactly what I was going to say. So let's finish on that.
Up near 200 and something meters, and
do you think
dangerous most of the time?
Can you see teams having the balls to try and it's the sort of teams that do it that have nothing to lose? Can you see a team trying this clutch? I
can see someone like Brisbane. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The trick is to make him chase too. So, as you said, Crichton intercept. That Crichton intercept, if he doesn't take that, they nearly score.
Yes.
You've got to try and lead 12-0 against Penrith and make them chase it, and they don't quite feel as comfortable. And they just couldn't convert early.
This sort of game plan really suits Brisbane, in my opinion. You've got Walsh on the sweep, which, it gets the ball out to those edges really quickly. Reynolds has got a lovely little short kicking game, so he could mix it up with some chip kicks and grubber kicks in behind the line to try and, with the likes of Katoni and Cobbo and that chasing through the middle, trying to pick up the ball. Yeah, I think it probably lends itself best to the Broncos.
Yeah, because when you're Penrith and you do what you do, stage fright is the best thing that can happen to your opponent. Like if they just sit and wait, you're not going to make mistakes. You've been there, done it, and it's not a big deal. Whereas to get there and have the balls to throw it round takes some doing. Melbourne now, if they get the right situation, could happen as well. But anyway, interesting game, a lot of fun. We move on to Friday night, where Happy Barney was in play, despite being angry Barney for being stuck at work all day. 36-6, the Sharks got over the Titans with some very good execution. Look, essentially, let's not mince words, they pretty much blew the Titans off the park here, Barn.
Yeah, absolutely they did. 7 tries to 1, 4 out of 7 conversions, played 1 out of 1 for the Titans. 83% completion, 90% completion for the Titans. So that probably makes the numbers look even a little bit better. 530 plus running meters, 9 line breaks to 2, 58 tackle busts for Cronulla, 36 for the Titans. 10 offloads to 8, 1 forced dropout from both teams. 349 tackles played, 351, 7 errors to 6. 7 errors, 6 penalties conceded to 5 ruck infringements to 1, and a sin bin to the Titans. Mulatalo with 110 Supercoach points, Ramian with 109.
Did Dana finally get him on the field, or did you forget to sub him in?
Yeah, I think he did. I'm not sure. McGuinness with 104 and Tino with 105. I think that's probably close to the best overall performance from the Sharks for a long time, maybe the entire season, really. The defence was much better.
You mentioned last week, though, the physicality, and they brought it again this week.
Yeah, they were definitely up for the fight with this one, especially physically, as you mentioned. It was the best the forwards have gone this year, I think, as a pack. Pretty much every one of them had a pretty rugged performance in this one and really got in and got dirty, which generally during the year you've only seen sort of two or three of them go at one time, whereas they all went together as a pack in this one. They seem to have a bit of a predetermined plan to go to the right hand side of the Titans defense, so the left hand side in attack, which they generally do like to go out to the left anyway, because you've got Talakai and Mulatalo out there. But as soon as they broke that open early in the game, they just continually went back there and absolutely traumatized. I think it was Brian Kelly out there and the blokes that were surrounding him. So a little disappointed with the Tino try. That was a pretty soft missed tackle there by Hines and a couple of guys that didn't really sort of get in behind there. But it was a good run from Tino, and he's generally good for that a couple of times in a game. So the defense was really just heaps better. They limited the opportunities. They shut down Campbell pretty effectively. When they got to the edges, they weren't. There was no one rushing out of the line like they usually is, or if they did rush out, they all went together. It was they just seemed a lot more in sync. Probably helps when the Titans weren't exactly at their best in attack either. But they really limited the opportunities for the Titans. I thought Trindle played a fantastic game. Some of his ball playing was really nice at the line.
And again, that's 2 weeks
Looks like
in a
he's
row.
starting to settle in.
He's starting to look at home, and here it is. Like here it is. You run with it now, Sharks.
Yeah, absolutely. Talakai with a couple of lovely catch and passes for Ronaldo to score his double. As I said, I just really like the physicality out of the pack from the Sharks. It was, and that's something that they're going to need if they are going to be competitive down the track. Campbell and Sammy were the best of the back five, caused a couple of opportunities for the Titans. Boyd and Jolliffe had good games. David Fifita was very good again, and Tino was by far the best Titan on the field. Talakai and Tracy Nakora were good. Wade Graham was good again. Good to see him score in his 250th match as well. Just little.
And despite actually, just on that, it was sorry, finish your sentence. I should let you get that far.
No, go on.
I just thought it was really well done what they did with the 250 game, and great to see him scoring with his daughter, and plenty of trip. Pelix wanted to piss in his pocket the next day and over the weekend, and deservedly so. Like obviously, he must just be a great bloke. So
beautiful little double pump there by Trindle to put him over with the short ball. He just had to fall over the line, which he would have enjoyed immensely, I would imagine. Nico, Trindle, and Militano were all very good, but I thought Ramian and McGuinness were the best two players out there. They were brilliant.
Again, another thing, but it's time to just go chips in with McGuinness. Let him play 80. Let him do what he does. Let him captain the side if it means Nico's in a better headspace. Because he's a bloke. End of the day, he's the heart and soul of the team. And
done it for years at St George, and you knew what was going to happen. I'm surprised it took him so long to get him up, to get the minutes out of him, to be honest. But.
I know he came back from essentially missing 18 months of footy, but here he is now. Connor Tracy, good.
Yeah, he's filling in quite well. Doesn't really suit that sweep as much as Kennedy, but he's got a few other attributes.
He's a better broken field player, and say slightly more direct, but just a better tackle breaker rather than a sweeper.
A lot more direct, I would say.
Yeah. But good signs, and now we're heading towards this world where we've got half a dozen 4 points games essentially coming up, where they're going to decide something.
Yeah, a big one tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow, and I think they've got the Knights and the Raiders. So if they win all three, then they deserved top four spots from where they've come from. So,
how bad they were going a couple of weeks ago. I gave McGuinness the man of the match. I had Ramian for the 2 points, and then I gave Tino the one. Trindle and Graham notable mentions.
We are in step again there, Barn. Friday wrapped up with 54-10. Talk about getting blown off the field, but this was a premiership team making a premiership statement here, even though
It's
Parramatta
the best
are far
performance of the
from.
weekend.
But this was
Absolutely.
outstanding. It started physical, and Para up for the physical for about 20 minutes, but then the gates opened, and this is the sort of thing you see every year from your Penriths and Melbournes and whoever's going to win the comp, your Roosters. Back in the day, they start opening, really putting the foot down, and everything's right. And this was it.
About a month out.
Yep.
About a month out. Anyone that's floating around the bottom of the 8, they just come out and fucking kill them.
And everyone else goes, oh, yeah, that's right. They'll probably win the comp. What did the stats say, first of all?
9 tries to 2, 8 out of 9 conversions, 1 out of 2 for the Eels. 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for the Broncos, 77% completion, played 74, 559 plus running meters and 87 plus post contact meters for the Broncos. 12 line breaks to 3, 46 tackle busts to 24, 16 offloads to 11. A forced dropout from both teams, 2 40-20s from the Broncos. Lovely kicks too, one from Reynolds and Walsh. 209 tackles played, 334, 11 errors apiece, 6 penalties conceded to 8. 2 inside the 10s against the Eels. Dean Mariner with 132 Supercoach points. Never thought I'd say that. Capewell with 126. Walsh with 123. And then Dylan Brown was on 87.
Who do I want to rave about first? I've already raved about Payne Haas, so we'll leave it there. But dead set, if you told me Pat Carrigan's the best forward in the game, in fact, I'd often tell you that. I wouldn't deny it. He in that early physical section of the game. Those two were just up for it, and it was their show to start it. And fuck, they were great to watch. And that's and kudos to Parra for getting up there. Paulo tried to match him and co, but once the bow broke, that was it. Where do you even start? Who do you want to start with? Walsh? Do you want to start with the percenters? Do you want to start with
I thought Capewell had the best game he's played in a long time. I actually thought Capewell was probably close to the best player on the field. Mm-hmm. Destructive ball in hand, some really good defence. But yeah, as you said, against the team fighting for their season, for the Broncos to come out and just completely dominate a game for a good hour, like Parra only sort of got back into it in the last 10 minutes because Brisbane had basically just left the kill on the side of the road and walked away from it. They'd absolutely demolished them. I don't know how Parramatta continually get caught out on an edge. Like they do it every game.
We've talked about this for
every
4 years.
Game.
It has to be coaching structure.
And time again.
Has to be coaching structure. Because it doesn't matter who they put there, and they throw Paul Wingers to the. This year they've thrown Paul Wingers to the Wolves on 4 or 5 occasions, like debutants.
Like I know a lot of tries come out of there every weekend, every game, but to be stripped so far, like where there's nobody around, like 10 meters within the bloke who's putting the ball down, it's just alarming. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen just out of it happening. It happened because the Broncos absolutely kicked the front door in and were running straight through the middle of them as well. Their defense was just completely shot all over the place. They looked lost. Like they looked like they had absolutely no idea what to do against this Brisbane side.
But this is when you have a frantic team, and when your leaders imprint themselves, as I've said, on team, and their leaders are frantic. Gutho and Moses, and at their best, they're brilliant. Not a knock on them, but when you need to get into the trenches, Gutho, great trench player, but he's a great last line of trench where someone else has to help, and they just don't have a forward leader that's going to go, right, well, I'm going to put a hit on someone, or I'm going to try and drag us back here. Even like a Horsburgh, someone like that's just going to turn around, and it's a very, very slow ship to try and turn around, and for this team, it's impossible, for the Parramatta team.
Well, they couldn't slow Brisbane down at all. Like they were just playing the ball whenever at whatever speed they felt like it, the Brisbane side. And on the opposite to that, Parramatta were getting knocked flat on their back. Like when they were running into the line, they were getting absolutely belted onto their backs, and they couldn't get any speed in to play the ball, any momentum at all. I think they've only won one game in the last 8 or 9 weeks, Parramatta. So you throw in a bye as well. Their form's reading pretty poorly at the moment.
I know they're missing, and we're only about a month away from our starting our season reviews, and I've got some ideas on that. We might try and get some fans from each
Oh,
team
yeah.
to join us
Nice.
and give their thoughts. So do like a separate one for each team
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have some educated people join us along the way. But back to here, I have grave concerns for next year because I know they're missing Lane and RCG, but I don't think there's any upside to this squad.
Doesn't look that way at
I
the
think the
moment.
pinnacle
No.
was last year.
Assy maybe's got a little bit of upside to him, but yeah, it's worrying.
When we talk about upside
Yeah,
as well,
most of their
the pool's empty. We've now got this extra team. Who does anyone sign anymore?
yeah,
Like, even if
bit of a
any of these
merry-go-round,
teams want
really.
to sign someone, who's out there? Like I said, you're looking for the Tafts of the world.
Yep. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, most of Parramatta's opportunities just got knocked flat on their back, and Brisbane were just that good. They're hard to say how good they were. Um, I thought Assy and Offa were pretty good. Lussick was okay, out of dummy half. Not sure what Hands has done. I know they like Lussick because they went and signed him. So
I feel like Arthur
sorry, just had to
doesn't
die.
entirely. I feel like Arthur, whether it's a conscious thing, whether it's a protection thing, I don't think he wants to throw young blokes to the wolves, or whether he just
Yeah,
doesn't
okay,
trust young blokes. I don't
maybe.
know. I don't know. I'm just trying to because we've seen a few edge debutants, as I referenced earlier, have one game and then you never see them again, and they can't be that bad
Yeah,
to go
true.
through a whole system and then only play one game.
Yeah, Junior Paulo and Hopgood were very good. Brown tried extremely hard, but and was their best, but he was on his own most of the night. Kerrigan, Palacia were really good in limited minutes. Got a bit of a rest there for Kerrigan, a bit less time than usual, but he was still fantastic.
He's earned it.
Haas, Walters, and Herbie were very good. Reynolds and Walsh were great. They conduct that attack so well these days, and the beneficiaries were Capewell and Mariner off the back of it. They were awesome. Tries everywhere. So,
Yeah, not much more to add. I love watching them. Just about my favourite team to watch. Them in Newcastle at the moment. They've got every aspect covered, and they are the right team to beat Penrith. It's whether, as I said, they're going to shit the bed, but they've got the right people in place not to. I can't
yep.
imagine Reynolds, Haas, Carrigan being players that aren't going to be up for a prelim or a grand final. And as you say, if they play that game plan, they're going to execute better than a Manly backline. They will score points if they have that much possession and open Penrith up as much as they can. Those centres are scoring.
You would think so, yeah.
Do they win the comp? It's a simple question. Are we down to 2 now?
They can. I still don't think they do, but they'd be the best chance of all. Warriors are still a chance, but they'd need to be at their absolute best. So does anyone who's going to be playing Penrith.
Yeah. All right. 3 to Walsh, 2 to Reynolds, 1 to Haas. Or
I think
Capel,
you have to
sorry.
give Capewell points.
And if you want to actually,
Capewell points.
if you want to give Capel more than that, actually, I'm okay with that. He was fantastic.
Yeah, go 2 to Capewell.
1 to Reynolds. Or you
1 to
give it to the front?
Reynolds. Yeah. Okay. What are you doing? Payne Haas was amazing.
Yeah.
So was Walsh. But it doesn't really happen if if Reynolds doesn't get him around the field, does it? So,
Let's go Walsh, Capel, Reynolds.
yeah, let's do that.
Honorary mention to the other 10. Well, it's
exactly.
and this is a wrap on them because it's Penrith syndrome now. Like I said last week, if you threw
Who do you
anyone
give
out there,
points to?
I wouldn't argue with you. You right to keep
Absolutely.
going? Feeling good?
Yeah, mate.
Feeling ready? Don't need a Barocca?
No, I'm not.
The Saturday kicked off 26-14. Bunnies over Dragons in an largely uninspiring
Wasn't it?
effort, but and again, a bit of luck could have gone differently, but they managed to get through the Cairns trip. And what did the stats say?
Yeah, both teams put in plenty of effort, I thought, but just nothing seemed to come off for both teams for big parts of the game. 4 tries to 3, 4 out of 4 conversions for Souths, 1 out of 3 for the Dragons, 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for Souths. 63% completion, played 69%, 390 plus running meters and 86 plus post contact meters for South Sydney. 5 line breaks to 2, 32 tackle busts to 23, 9 offloads to 5, 2 forced dropouts to 0, 308 tackles made by South Sydney, 335 made by the Dragons. 16 errors to 11, 3 penalties conceded to 5, 1 ruck infringement against the Dragons, 1 inside the 10 against Souths. Walker with 81 Supercoach points, Trell with 81 Supercoach points. 3 other players before you got down to Sully from the Dragons on 59.
Yeah, execution wasn't their friend in this game.
Definitely not.
But ultimately, as we've seen with Souths, it only takes that one pass and everything clicks. And they keep doing it and they keep winning. So can't necessarily knock that, but I would have been scared to see what, for example, Brisbane would have done to Souths this week in this form.
Yeah, well, they just could not seem to hit that last pass for the majority of the night, both sides. Could not cash in when it mattered. Walker had some nice passes, and Trell chimed in a couple of times. Really nice individual efforts, like where he
Amazing
climbed
try
above
assist, yeah.
the jump, and then the offload when he's almost on the ground, and yeah, a couple of nice passes to put blokes down the sideline. But they just seem to get bogged down way too much in the middle of the field. They got tested physically too. I thought the Dragons probably beat them up in the middle of the field. Well, the Dragons probably did end up winning that battle in the middle of the field.
The best thing that's happened to the Dragons,
Probably
which
kept them
took
in there that
forever
long.
and took Hook going, is fresh blood. And this is what I've said a lot, and you said a lot when Gump was on the show, but by the time you're 30, 40, 50 NRL games in, you're exposed. You know what they bring to the table. And if you're not bringing it by then,
Yep.
you may as well bring someone else in. And now we've got, Billy Burns has been playing fantastic. Dan Russell, and
awesome.
the Couchmans, Mulhauser, etc., and both Mollos being on the field, bringing physicality and actually they're fresh. They're not.
The brothers were good.
But they're not weighed down with the taint of the last few years. They're coming in and they've got points to prove. And I think that sometimes there needs to be, and this is the problem with long-term contracts sometimes. Obviously, you sign your best players in the long-term contracts. But
yeah, of course.
To be honest, the NRL would be a better place if your mid-level and below contracts were 1 and 2 year deals and you cycled through fresh blood and you moved on.
Yeah, you're pretty right there, I think.
Anyway,
It's just at the end of the day, it was the big name players for the Rabbitohs that got them out of shit. They could have easily lost this game, and I thought the Dragons did really well to contain the middle of the field for as long as they did. They were tough. Just they need 1 or 2 more X factor players in that side. And they have, Sloane's got the potential, but doesn't seem to do it often enough. They were missing Lomax, which doesn't help. Sully's just seemed to be stuck in that one channel all year, and you'd really like to see him go looking for the ball a little bit more, but it doesn't happen. So
the best X factor they got is their winger now.
Yeah, Rava.
Yeah,
killing it. Sully was the best of the back 5. Milo and Little were okay. Laurie, Dan Russell, and Couchman's ×2. They were very good. Hunt tried really hard, but just couldn't get him over the line, obviously. Graham and Milne were strong for the Rabbits. Cook and Murray were very good, as they generally are most weeks. Tallis Duncan, again, very good in 36 minutes that he played. Really comes in and has a go, that young fella. There's something about him. And Keon, Kulamatangi, Walker, and Latrell were fantastic. They were the 3 best players on the field, I thought.
But this is where, as we said, this is where you swap. If those 3 swap teams, the other team pisses in. It's
yeah, absolutely.
This is where the comp's at.
I'd Walker with the 3, Keon with the 2, and then Trell or Ben Hunt if you were feeling generous for Ben Hunt, but I'd give it to Trell.
I had Trell too, but I'm happy with that. I'd agreed the other way. Otherwise, but because I don't think they win if he's not in the field. But we'll go with that and move on.
True.
I must be feeling sorry for you tonight, Barn.
The amount of work Keon went through.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The 30-22, the West Tigers went down to the Warriors in one of the nearly the game of the round, actually. Pretty good game of footy in terms of closeness and with a few other certain decisions and things going the other way. It might have been different, but Warriors held on. We watched it here. I watched it here as I was cooking 8 tons of meat. Thank you for joining us, Barn, as for young Elijah's birthday. That was good times. But
30 kilos of barbecued meat.
there was we were still eating it last Wednesday, but anyway. No, today's Wednesday, last Tuesday. But it was a good night had by all. Unfortunately, the result went the wrong way for me. But I can't felt the outfit, and a little bit of luck, it goes the other way. What did the stats say?
We had 4 tries to 5, 3 out of 4 conversions for the Tigers, played 4 out of 5 for the Warriors. 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for the Warriors. 72% completion, played 76%, 456 plus running meters and 152 plus post contact meters for the Warriors. 5 line breaks to 6, 33 tackle bust to 39, 8 offloads to 4, 1 forced dropout from the Warriors, 362 tackles played, 274, 15 errors to 10, 11 penalties conceded to 5, 3 ruck infringements to 1, 1 inside the 10 against the Tigers, 2 against the Warriors. Laurie with 98 Supercoach points, Fanua Blake with 98, and Tohu Harris with 87.
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
No worries. Really good start from the Warriors. Getting on the front foot very early. Pretty much from the first set of the game. And the middle of the Tigers' defence was looking really brittle for that first 15 minutes. They didn't look like it was going to be a pretty comfortable win, but they got that middle back together there for big parts of the rest of the game. 1 or 2 crucial tries that were really soft, I thought. The Fanua Blake and the Tohu Harris, I know they were good passes, but you can't have one guy missing the tackle by that far and nobody else standing around. Yeah. If you go back and have a look at those. Laurie seemed to be the really only the real attacking option for the Tigers at least in the first half. He's some of his runs in that first half were fantastic and obviously led directly to points. Got some nice footwork and a bit of pace.
Well, it's funny because he
seems to suit that running 6 role.
I feel like he was.
He's going.
It's so weird, eh? Because for what he's done the last 2 weeks,
that was all the talk before the season started. Was the Eels were going to play him at 6 from the start of the year.
Yeah,
it never happened.
Well, he got injured. I feel like he's been carrying injured a lot of it because even when he went back to reserve grade, there wasn't.
Yeah, maybe
he wasn't doing this. But since he's come to first grade, apart from some of his, he tried to fit too much of a slot that first game back. But those last 2 weeks, where he's just become a running 5'8", he's been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, and he's got pace around him, which he didn't really have. So I suspect there was a groin and a hamstring or something along the way. But it's really weird because he couldn't get back to Penrith quick enough, and honestly, he probably just tripled his value in the last 2 weeks, and now he's just being flung back to reserve grade to play a couple of games when Edwards has a rest and play Origin time. He probably ends up playing a dozen games for him, and if that's where his heart is, like, good luck to him. But you would have liked to have seen a genuine 6-week crack with earlier in the year when the Tigers were playing well, because he would have brought points to a team that needed it. And all of those efforts were off the back foot, counter-attacking against some tight edges, and they were very good.
He created some lovely tries, the Tigers. I think they'd be probably pretty disappointed because some of the softer tries that the Warriors scored, you keep them out, you probably win this game.
Yep, you're right.
Wouldn't be a Warriors game without DWZ trying to do backflips and somersaults and gymnastics in the corner for a try, which happened again.
Which was declared without even again. Honestly, didn't even check it. If that was on the other side, there would have been 87. If that was the other way around, there would have been 87 looks. They would have found a camera from the bloke with the iPhone in the third row just to prove it wasn't. And within 20 seconds, it was confirmed. Anyway, different if you need
Sean Johnson's passing game, again, was at its selective best. He just seems to hit the blokes exactly when they need to be hit with the ball on the chest. I mentioned they'd be pretty disappointed with a couple of the Warriors tries. They were good, and the Warriors were a little bit flat. Had opportunities to pinch it, but they literally just left the front door open. for those 2 tries at the back end of the game, which sealed it through Fanua Blake and Tohu Harris.
Even the first try when Barnett goes through untouched for
Yep.
Metcalf, like
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
shouldn't happen at this level.
No, definitely not. Stefano and Stafford were good. Blore, Appy, and Bateman had very good games. Papali'i and Laurie were fantastic for the Tigers. He's been really consistent lately, Papali'i. He's sort of come back to some of his best form in the last month, maybe 2. Barnett and Ford were strong. Both their halves were very good. Tohu was he was better than good. Like he's just Tohu good. That's what he does every week.
Yes.
It's just Tohu good.
No tribal chief.
And Fanua Blake was brilliant. He was everywhere. 270 running meters, I think it was. I'll get to them stats later when someone's going to get a salute.
Fair enough too. Someone might get
Blake
slapped
3 points, Harris with 2, and I gave Laurie 1. I thought he was tremendous in the beat side.
But just quick thoughts on Stefano's sin binning after Appy copped a broken jaw and it wasn't even a penalty.
I have no idea what's going on.
Billy Smith in the next game
with these continued sin bins, and they seem to come out of nowhere. I don't know if they just they get the shits with somebody. Somebody on the Tigers have said something to the ref, and he's just cracked the shits and gone, "Fuck it, you can go." And yeah, it seems very selective with what they do, and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
An hour later, Billy Smith looked much worse, raising the elbow into Zarko, and it was just a penalty.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have issues with.
I guess it's probably because Stefano's forearm's twice as big as Billy Smith's. I guess maybe.
But you're not wrong, because apparently, as he said, that's what was taken into account with Luai. So if you're just a little back go and flog people in the head, you'd be sweet. Anyway, I was proud of Tigers' effort. What do you say? They're going to run last? What's it all mean?
Yeah,
all I'll say is I think that ultimately, if all things were equal, they're better than the Wooden Spoon team. But by better, I mean 13th.
Maybe a win or 2. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they'd be.
They should have won. They should have probably won twice as many games as they won this year. To be honest,
that's without even saying that. Like they'd lap Canterbury and they'd go close to. At their best, they should beat Dragons, but they didn't. Actually, I don't need to beat Canterbury either. But they should, anyway, we'll say this for the review. Whatever, who cares? Move on. This club sucks. But at least we're going to be in the Chairman's Lounge this week, so say hi to us, everyone over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a good weekend. Hopefully, we're both back to full health.
Yeah,
getting around, getting amongst
Nothing a couple of beers can't fix.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The
talk my language.
Yeah. All righty, lectures ahoy over here. We've got 30-14. Chooks and the Dolphins on Saturday night. Barnes stats.
Yep. We had 5 tries to 2, 5 out of 5 conversions played 2 out of 2, and 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Dolphins. 76% completion, played 88%, 260 plus running meters and 70 plus post contact meters for the Roosters. 10 line breaks to 4, 57 tackle busts for the Roosters, 34 for the Dolphins. 13 offloads to 12, 3 forced dropouts to 2, 342 tackles played, 343. 11 errors to 9, 7 penalties conceded to 6, 1 ruck infringement against both teams, 1 inside the 10 against the Dolphins, and a sin bin for the Dolphins. Hutchinson with 130 Supercoach points, another one I never thought I would say. Nat Butcher with 95, plus 1 more Rooster before you get to Jared Wallace on 81 Supercoach points.
Sounds from no stats. This should have been a close game.
Should have been. It was a strange game, this one. The Dolphins seemed to control the Roosters pretty comfortably for 95% of that first half. They just weren't able to break open the defence often enough. I thought they probably should have been leading by about 20 at half time with the amount of ball they had and what they were doing against the Roosters. But they go and grab a try right on half time, last minute of the first half. And it goes in at 8-6 at half time. Nice little try too, with Teddy skirting around the outside of somebody and Manu cutting back through, back on his inside. It's a couple of minutes into the second half, and then the Roosters go and throw about 4,000 passes in one set of in one tackle. We'll go from one side of the field back to the other side, and then Billy Smith just looked like he'd shot 4 or 5 Dolphins players because they were just all laying on the ground right next to him as he ran past them to score in the corner, and that was pretty much the end of that. The Dolphins' defense absolutely fell apart. They made Drew Hutchinson look like the second coming of Joey Johns there at the back end of this game. He was just stepping inside and outside people with blokes rushing up or just standing completely still like a statue. He grabbed himself a double and just putting his head down, running straight at him and a couple of steps. And he broke probably 3 or 4 tackles both times that he scored a try as well. And it was just blokes just falling off left, right, and centre.
Well, it was at the same time, Nat Butcher suddenly looked like Gordon Tallis, so it was,
He did, absolutely.
all glove in hand there. As I guess the gas tank did splutter out again. But he was good, Butcher. He's one you hadn't mentioned yet, and I thought
Fantastic,
had some good lines and did through his usual absolute mountain of defensive work again.
Beautiful little flick pass from Jared Wallace to finish the game off to put Tasako over in the corner. Shades of Matt Gidley from the big fella as he's fallen down. Beautiful.
He's good for that. He's done that, I think, twice in 3 weeks.
Yeah. He's been really good for him recently in the last month or so. Definitely been the best of their forwards. But I thought the HIA to Lemuelu really hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
He was going really good up until that 25th minute mark or whatever it was when he got knocked out.
Oh, and apparently Wayne was not happy because I did end up sitting and watching the. Apparently he was fine. Apparently it was a Category 1 from the bunker. I'm paraphrasing here, so don't quote me for more's come out since. But the bunker ordered the Category 1, not the doctor, and he thought he could have continued.
Yeah, okay.
So Wayne was not happy.
Has he been named this week?
No, because it's Category 1. Doesn't get a chance.
Oh yeah, Category 1. So he can't.
But he thought that he could have potentially
got back into the game.
Yeah,
right. Would have helped him.
Which I didn't realise. I just assumed it was. But no, apparently the bunker can do that. Just order you off the field for the sake of doing it. Which does open up in a world where we just point out every other thing the bunker can't understand. Does open up a world of corruption if you suddenly just turn around the ground final and say, Cleary's Category 1 in the head. Anyway, that would never happen in our
It's a big word to be thrown around.
Shouldn't. That is all alleged and absolute extreme case in a parallel universe. Would never happen.
I thought Stone and Asako were strong performers, as was O'Sullivan. They had quite a good game. Nichols and Wallace were tremendous for the Dolphins in the middle of the field, but the rest of them probably weren't worth feeding, to be honest. Manu, Teddy, and Radley were all good. Billy Smith and Sawali were very good. I thought Terrell May again was awesome. He only played 39 minutes, but he did a shit ton of work.
200 metres in 40 minutes. I don't think he missed a tackle. I think his defence was good too. Let me just have a look. 26 tackles, no misses, 1 in effect, and an intercept.
He was brilliant.
He has had something about him for a couple of years, and he just hasn't really got going. But as I said, in a world of exposed players, maybe it's time to just back some of these blokes.
Give him a fair crack, because he was awesome in the 39 minutes he was out there. And we already mentioned the top two, Hutchinson and Nat Butcher. They were awesome in this game and really blew it apart for the Roosters. I had Hutchinson with 3, Butcher with 2, and then I gave May the 1.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Or you could give it to Wallace if you're feeling generous towards the Dolphins. He was awesome in a beaten team. But just the amount of work that kid got through in 39 minutes was astounding.
I'm okay with all that. Again, we got to Sunday afternoon and finally...
Wow. A couple of slaughters.
Do I want to say that... Okay, what's the best way to... Were the Raiders finally exposed at the wheels falling off? Like, you don't fluke your way into the top 6, but, geez, they fluked their way in the top 6, I thought, along the way. But the carnival's over now, surely.
It's going to be interesting how they go. They're going to have to hold it together for the next 3 weeks.
You know who they got in 2?
They got the Dogs this week, but
Brisbane off a bye.
They played.
That could be
7 Cronulla in the last round.
Yeah. So they got the Dogs at the right time.
They did, but stranger things have happened. Where were we? 9 tries to 0, 6 out of 9 conversions, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for Canberra, 78% completion, played 66, 702 plus running meters and 120 plus post contact meters for the Storm, 10 line breaks to zilch, 52 tackle busts to 25, 12 offloads to 10, 1 forced dropout from the Storm, 264 tackles played, 340, 12 errors from both teams, 6 penalties conceded from both sides. 2 ruck infringements to 3, 2 inside the 10 against the Raiders, and 2 sin bins for Canberra. Meaney with 120 Supercoach points, Grant with 110, and you had
Is that
7
all?
other Storm players before you got the Horsburgh on 58.
Harry's had a run, hasn't he? I'm
Hasn't he
shocked he's
what?
only 110. I didn't study it this week, but I just thought he'd be 140. So
He got 20 minutes off, I think.
turns out he's good at being a dummy half.
I think didn't he get a rest for 20
He
minutes?
started off.
That's probably why.
He started off the field.
Yeah, he started off the bench.
This was physical for all of about
5-10 minutes.
I was going to say 12 minutes first try. Yeah, just before that. And then it was just. It was.
It really kicked off.
But sorry, you go.
Yeah, Grant and Hughes really started running the ball, which sort of started causing lots of problems for Canberra's defensive line. Then they upped the speed of the play of the ball, really upped the tempo, and Canberra did hold on for another 15 minutes or so. But 10 minutes, half an hour into the first half, it just completely fell apart. We've both been saying it for the last couple of weeks. We've been expecting something similar to this. I didn't think it'd probably be this bad, but the Raiders have been looking tired for weeks. I mentioned I think it was 2 weeks ago, I thought they needed a week off. They could probably do with the 2-month holiday at the moment, the way that they looked after this game. They might get one if they keep playing this way. They were, they were horrible for the last 50 minutes of this game.
And where that really shines through is your defensive line. And if you're sluggish and half broken in defence for 60 minutes, I know one bloke I wouldn't want touching the ball every play of the ball, and that's Harry Grant.
Harry Grant,
he absolutely
throwing
feasted on a
Hughes.
carcass here. This was A-grade Harry Grant. This was the second best performance of the weekend after the Broncos. Everything he touched was gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
His support, and that we get your support play, and everything else around it. But just the fact he makes that slow 10 look like 15 or 20 in a heartbeat, and by the time he's at the line, he's got Hughes or Munster popping up next to him, and all of a sudden you're backpedaling someone capable of breaking a tackle anyway, and you've got 2 fantastic running halves outside. And now they're getting a little bit of cavalry back with dangerous centres like Seve coming back. So this was lambs to the slaughter for a great part. I don't know the thinking behind not starting Harry, whether that's now a plan, whether that's what he likes. Maybe he likes it. Maybe it's just to freshen him up for finals. I couldn't imagine he's not an 80-minute player, and I know he's not. But his impact here was phenomenal, all but flattered. The forwards all came to play. Lorero was good, I thought. He was very good. Welsh
He was very good.
has had a good season, and this was one of his better efforts. And obviously Nelson chimed in with plenty at the right time.
Yeah, they look completely cooked by the end of this game. Their effort just up and left at half time. They left it in the sheds, and just Melbourne ran roughshod over them in that second half. Couple you didn't mention, I thought King was good,
Yes,
as was Seve and Katoa. They had good games. The halves were fantastic. That speaks for itself. And Meaney absolutely killed it as well. For the Raiders, White and Tapane put in a decent effort, and Horsburgh's 60 minutes was the best of the Raiders, but I couldn't mention another one of them.
no, I wouldn't even bother. I will now give serious thought when we do the preview show in about 20 minutes to tipping Bulldogs, to be honest. But
I've already had that discussion with myself.
Yeah. So, what do you say? I think they cement top 4, and probably rightfully so. I think the top 4
Absolutely
looks like where it's headed, and what they've had to carry, and what the alleged new stock
again,
is.
Tipped them to miss the top 4, and it looks like I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah,
again. But I've had that pretty much the whole season being wrong. So
lucky we've done this show for so long, eh?
Yeah, I
Uh,
do have some decent performances in the previous years, but this year's been a bit rough.
Can't all just tip, 60 out of the last 63 or something, but,
Uh,
shoulder it myself. Harry, the other thing is you're now getting to the stage where clutch players win games and you can get into these 12 and 18 point tussles where this team can pull out, where Munster can score that sort of try in a grand final where he somehow just gets scored, runs over untouched or brushes
Yep.
off a second rower, and all of a sudden,
He's done that a couple of times in the last few weeks as well.
Yeah, that's he's got the world's slowest dummy, but everyone buys it. It's I think what did Vossi was it Vossi calling? Either Vossi or Warren Smith described it as a Steve Smith leave. It's like everyone knows it's coming, but they don't know what to do about it. Meany has been good, and I'd be very interested. I can't imagine them not playing him at 1 for the rest of the year, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Pappy off the bench in the next fortnight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You just have to have him there if they got him fit. Probably, I'd say one more game, and you'd be seeing him coming back into the bench spot there somewhere.
Yeah, give him 10 minutes from dummy half, and just if he's as quick as he has been. Again, I don't follow Queensland Cup as closely as some others do, but if he is, then that becomes a scary prospect. Their forward pack can still get dominated, and we know how far behind Penrith they are, but they're also capable of just that early spread and just getting right out of a forward battle if they're smart. So that's a little bit scary. 3 to Harry. Where you go next?
Yep, Meany Munster.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And Jerome Hughes would be unfortunate to miss out. 42-6. I think it's now, 100 to 6 or something? Knights over the Bulldogs the last 160 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They like
66 or something last time, wasn't
66 or what's that? 108 plays 6 in the last 160 minutes of this Dogs team that was done no favours because, again, officials, don't particularly like the bottom 4 teams, but not that I don't think this would have made a difference.
Defence was atrocious, though.
This was woeful here. What did the stats say?
7 tries to 1, 6 out of 7 conversions, 1 out of 1 for the Dogs, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for Newcastle, 77% completion, played 67%, 527 plus run meters and 135 plus post contact meters for the Newcastle side, 7 line breaks to 1, 55 tackle busts to 26, 15 offloads to 6, 1 forced dropout from the Bulldogs side, 310 tackles played, 361. 13 errors to 16, 3 penalties conceded to 4, 1 ruck infringement to 4, 1 inside the 10 against the Bulldogs, 2 sin bins for the Bulldogs, Gagai with 97 Supercoach points, Thompson with 88, and Leo Thompson, that is, and Reed Marnie with 82.
Start with the good stuff. They're very good again, Newcastle. Despite losing Hastings there, their forwards are now in a great groove. Their outside backs are in a better groove. That left edge looks good. But Pong is in. I'm saying it again, Haino 9 form here. This run's going. If they win 9 straight into a final, look out.
I thought the Dogs pretty much gifted Newcastle 5 of these tries, to be honest.
Well, there's that too, because there was complete laughing straight for the middle.
I really think that Newcastle probably only created 2 of these tries, and the rest of them were just absolute gifts from this Bulldogs defence. It was dogs to the slaughter, mate. They were physical for about 5 minutes and then rolled over for belly rubs. The middle defence was as poor as I've seen from anyone this year. Like the blokes, and then you get 2 blokes sin binned in the space of, 15 minutes or something. Add some more holes in the defence for Newcastle to pick at. But some of these tries were just people standing there as big forwards ran straight past them and scored underneath the post or next to the posts. There was some really there was a couple of really nice offloads.
You just reminded me of pot plant. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, mate. Okay.
No, those first 2 tries were embarrassing. To have kick out and Thompson, standing there both times,
straight between the pair.
Not even an effort between them. So you just remind me of the pot plant. But carry
on. Yeah, there's some ridiculously soft tries in this game. The only real 2 highlights for the Dogs were Reed's little barge over from dummy half and
Reed's effort with the referee was a highlight because he wasn't wrong. He was not wrong once. And there's this thing now. And I've noticed the referees started doing whether I've just become conscious of it. The thing the refs start doing now is going, "Oh yeah, you're right," but 10 minutes, like they just don't engage. They just go, like the game should be at a point where they shouldn't be allowed to even talk to them because it doesn't add anything. Just
Probably.
bar them from
No,
talking
no,
to the refs
never does anything.
because it's now farcical. Who does it every week, but everything Reid said, there's some dickheads, but everything Reid said, he was not wrong in most of his complaints, and it was just, oh, I know, but guess what? I don't care.
Too bad. Yeah. And Kiko trying to practice origami using Phoenix Crossland's body as as a bit of folding paper. There was some pretty fine folding going on there. Absolutely flattened the poor bloke.
Well, he owed him one. He owed him a couple, so.
Yeah. I'm just lost on how to say much else about it, to
There's
be
not
honest.
much,
Except,
really.
yeah, the Knights, as I mentioned, created maybe 2 of the tries. Dogs' defense was absolute garbage. Kiraz, King, and Burton were okay for the Dogs. Waddell was decent, but yeah, Reid was the best Bulldog out there by a mile. 90% of the Knights were very good. Like 90% of that 17 were very good. Ponga, Gamble, and Thompson were standouts. As was Adam Elliott, and I thought Gagai was brilliant in this
Adam
game.
Elliott's had his
I mean,
best two. He's now put together 2 really good games. He's
yes,
coming along very, very well. Well, finally hit his traps. He's a better term to say.
yeah, yeah, and I thought Gagai, he dead set had spiders on him. They couldn't touch him at times. 12, 13 tackle busts, shit ton of meters. Scored a try. I think he set 1 or 2 up as well. He was fantastic.
How do we analyse it? Yeah, good for Newcastle. Keep going. Good luck to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They want to be better up against some of these other teams. Obviously, played the Bulldogs, but they did what they needed to do. Got the job done pretty efficiently, and got away. Hopefully, by the looks of it, without any real injuries to come out of the game. So that's really all you want, is to try and
Well,
keep your squad as
Hastings is a
fit as
big one.
possible. Yeah, well, he's still apparently 50-50 to play this week.
Yeah.
So as of
They cannot
yesterday,
win a finals game without him. With him, I think
wouldn't
they're a
think so.
sniff. I mean, ultimately, unless you finish 8th and you play Penrith, you're a sniff anywhere else.
I gave Gagai 3 points.
Okay.
I had Gamble with 2. I thought he was
you touched on that a bit.
tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, he's really his support play off the back of any like the forwards, because they were busting through the middle so often. He was generally the guy that was in there with that support play.
And he's
he
got
threw
that
a couple
rail
of nice
really
balls
down
to
pat.
put guys
He almost
through
plays.
holes.
He plays the direct fullback while Kalen plays the sweep and the 5'8".
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And he if they get this correct next year, he could be the leading try scorer of 5'8" in the comp if they stick with this over a
He
season.
does real well following
every week.
the big guys around and doing that inside support and outside support.
Yeah.
I thought Leo Thompson was brilliant.
I was about to say,
between him and Ponga that for the
I
1
actually am giving
point
Thompson
for mine. But
and I don't know whether in my head he was flat or whether you're going to say he's flattered, but I
I
agree.
don't think so.
Leo Thompson was great.
He's actually been really good for them. With the Saifidi sort of mixing and matching their form and being in and out with injury, he's really stepped up this year and he's become one of their main targets as a front rower. So
absolutely, so well deserved his 1 point there. That probably gets him to 1 point in Daggy M's.
I would say so. Yes.
No, I think we might have given him one somewhere else, but I'm going to roll the next section into the slap, but it has really shipped me lately, and we've gone 4 years without talking about officiating, but the standard of the bunker, especially in this game and a couple of others, in this game, the decision making was mind blowing to award Leo that knock on try that has been disallowed since Jesus was in the major. It's almost like they were going out of the way to be contentious in this, and it shits me. Doesn't
and
shit me.
You hear them talk. You hear them explain their way through it, and
but they're wrong.
You're fucking wrong.
And 3 words in, you're right. That the minute the fucking first word comes out of their mouth, they're wrong. But it annoys me because I hate to say it, they're pushing women in the bunker. And this is a knock on women. I would be happy if all fucking 8 referees, if they're the best referees in the comp, were all women. But
it's a knock on a person.
yeah, but it is a couple of people. And I saw
Yep.
I saw a decision that was given double movement and was awarded a try, disallowed a try that was a try from an NRLW game. It's a different story. But in
Yeah,
all
that was
walks of
shocking.
life, all I ask for is merit. So I'm fine with. I love, if you're the best 10 commentators and they're female, great. If you're the best 10 referees, great. I saw a fantastic refereeing performance from the Brazilian referee in last night's Carpa Edina Batista. She was fantastic. But you can't then put them in the bunker and grade them on a curve, because you can't tell me if anyone else was in the bunker in that Newcastle Dogs game, they would have a job this week.
I wouldn't think so, no.
It was appalling. And then for
It
Annesley to
was.
come out again and say, oh, well, they should, if everyone just laid off the refs, fuck off. Like, honestly, this will rip off a team in a finals game. Unfortunately, it won't be Penrith or Brisbane because they get all the rub, but it will rip off a team before the season's over and cost them a spot in a grand final. Mark my words. And they've allowed it to happen. They've allowed it to happen, and it shits me.
Yeah.
Anyway. I was so angry watching that, and it happened a couple of times across the weekend. Why not just put the same bloke? Why not just say to Ashley Klein, "You're the bunker forever," and that's it? And he might suck at it because he does, but
You're
at
not
least
leaving.
he's consistent. At least I know there was decisions in that Newcastle
You're
game
going to get the same.
that were different in the different half.
Yeah.
The same thing happened 20 minutes later,
Like
and they
5
were
or
all
10
different
minutes apart.
decision. Anyway,
Absolutely.
poor old Chris
my
Goffey.
slap was the Dogs' optional defence. 55 missed tackles. They just pick and chose when they decided they wanted to try and make a tackle, and I think half the time they didn't want to make a tackle. So
Okay, cool. Well, let's crowbar in between. Actually, let's have a good one in between. Let's go with a salute here, Barn.
rightio. So 1 try, 24 hit ups, 27 runs, 270 running meters, 80 post contact, 6 tackle bust, 12. What the fuck is that? Oh, sorry, 6 tackle bust, 1 line break, 1 offload, 27 tackles and 2 misses.
Sarah
Fanua
Togatuki.
Blake.
Oh, what?
Added Fanua Blake with an absolute massive performance for the Warriors up against
Awesome.
your Blakes.
Awesome. And, isn't that kudos to the Tigers that we're recognising that effort? Because without him, they probably don't win that game. So kudos, whatever that's worth anymore.
Difficult.
Kudos to them. I'm going to salute Wade Graham, actually. 250 games.
Yeah, nice.
And I just thought everything about that. It was a nice moment to score with his family, and the Raps came at after. So I think in a week where it's hard for me to not just wrap the best teams, I might just go outside the box slightly. Obviously, go back. If you haven't watched a game of footy and you just want to watch a slaughter and you're not one of those people that hate Brisbane, which I understand, go back and watch that Brisbane game. It's a lot of fun.
It was a fun watch.
We're
I guess you were a Parramatta fan.
Yeah, and all them too. Pot plant. We need to finish on a pot plant this week.
Yeah. What's young Haas from the Titans? What's his name? Keenan Haas, is it?
No,
I'll find it.
I want to say Isaiah. Oh, the Palms are in front.
Pretty sure it starts with a K.
Oh, no, I'm thinking the other for Sul Miley. Sorry. Yeah, I know you're talking about now.
We'll go and find him. Where was he? There he is.
Cleese.
Because he only played 15 minutes, so it's a bit hard to give the bloke a pot plant for 15 minutes of footy. But in that 15 minutes, Cleese Haas, he had 1 run for 2 meters and made 4 tackles. What the fuck? Surely you can get a little bit more involved in that 15 minutes. Unless he was carrying an injury that I didn't notice, which is possible considering he only got 15 minutes. But yeah, 1 run for 2 meters and 4 tackles. Put a pot plan out there.
Do we know if did the Palms start outsiders in this World Cup game?
No, but they started favourites.
Yeah, no,
I'm pretty sure.
Rightfully so. I should have had a crack. I thought sometimes the tab does weird stuff and tries to get Australia on, but they didn't hear. Anyway, I'm going to give.
They scored, did they?
Yeah, nailed one in the corner. Treble
right.
coming up here.
Okay.
Josh Schuster, because he just should be a pot plant. He is tailor made. I'm going to start calling him Groot next season. Honestly, that game. And Kickout, I'm going to also double down and give it to Viliami Kickout, who had very little
Yep.
interest in defending for much of that game, apart from that nice
Agreed.
hit you mentioned earlier. That was poor. Luke Thompson, first game back, so he just gets, I guess, seeded for next week.
Pass,
If he get picked, I haven't looked yet. Anything else?
Oh, mate, that's it for me.
All right, we've got a preview, so stick around. The preview show will be up as well at the moment. If you're on YouTube, leave us some feedback. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us we're right. That's always nice. Buy some merch at rugbyleaguemerch.com. And, of course, subscribe. We'll be back by the time you've watched this. You'll be able to find a preview as well. Take care, guys, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.